So I deleted TikTok at the beginning of this year, and I was like, I waste too much fucking time scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I do scroll still, just not on TikTok. But the media that I find on other scrolling websites like Instagram or YouTube Shorts, they're not as personalized, I feel, to what I would really want to see, and so I scroll a lot less on them. So this is like what I watched, what I read, what media I consumed, what I obsessed over post TikTok brain rot edition. Okay? I have a whole fucking list, and this is just a week's worth. This is just this week. This is not the whole, almost half the year now that we've been in 2025. That's crazy. It's going like that. The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. Honestly, my boyfriend bought me this as a birthday present. The cover's really cute. I can see why he bought it for me. I think it's young adult. I might be wrong in that, but it felt like a teen book, if that makes sense. It's about this chick named Alice Proserpine or whatever. Basically, her and her mom are running away from like fairy tale creatures because her grandma was an asshole and found fairy tale creatures. Trying not to spoil anything. This book wasn't my favorite. Honestly, out of like a 1 to 10 scale, I'll give it like a 4. I mean, like this, I was not the audience meant for this book. Now this next book I am the audience for because I reread The Hobbit. This is like my 5th time rereading The Hobbit. And the reason I reread this is because I started to read a super long fan fiction by Determined Fidel or whatever. And it's called Sunsook. That shit is so long. Now, me being a smart person that I am, I didn't read it myself. I listened to it on a podfic. I read the first chapter myself, and there was so much lore in it that I was like, hold on. And I had to reread the Silmarillion. I have the Silmarillion. It's just as lore heavy as that fucking fan fiction was. Like, the one who wrote Sansook must be like J.R.R. Tolkien, like must be possessed by Tolkien or some shit. It's absolutely fucking insane how much they deep dive into like Hobbit culture and just all the people in it as well. They like just to continue with all the Hobbit shit that I listened to and consumed just this week. I listened to another podfic called Coats and Customs. Super cute. The whole adventure with the dragon just doesn't happen. They're like, actually, no. The dragon never shows up. It's kind of like a fix-it-all fan fiction. It was really cute, made me really fucking happy. The main premise of it is that that Thorin is like out of league with his grandfather, I guess, because he looks like his dad, which is like the worst thing to do to a kid, first of all. Second of all, so the king, his grandfather, forces him to marry a random hobbit for an alliance with the Shire so that the Blue Mountains right next to the Shire can go to the dwarves, right? Because the hobbits don't want anything to do with fucking mountains. So some of the other, at least kind of booky things I did or consumed, I guess. I listened to the audiobook for Phantom of the Opera. Fucking crazy. That guy, fucking wild. You need to either read if you're more of a have to have it in your hand, like, or pirate that shit on your phone, go to fucking Anne's archive and pirate that shit, or I listened it on a Libby, my Libby app, which you just get a library card from your local library and you sign in to the Libby app, and then they have, at least my library has an audiobook for Phantom of the Opera, so I listened to that. And this dude is crazy. This guy is crazy. He's like, Christine, why don't you love me? Like, I kidnapped you and I killed all these people for you. I'm like, no! Okay, so I read the book first. Obsessed. Like, hold on. I'll show you how fucking obsessed. I went to an antique store that I had never been to before. And the will of the gods and the universe gave me the CD Phantom of the Opera, right? Not just that one though. Also the musical. So I listened to the Phantom of the Opera main song for the first time this week. Got obsessed. Listened to the whole audiobook, right? And then I kind of watched both the movie and the musical in clips. Still not sure how to pirate it yet. I will get there. I will watch it. The difference between the books and the movie and the musical are fucking crazy. They paint Eric to be this, like, he's just traumatized, guys. Like, he just needs a hug. In the book, he's fucking crazy. Like, you think he's traumatized in the musical and the movie? No. You ain't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen shit yet. It goes into such depth and detail to explain how he's able to do these things through the Persian. Because in the, I don't know how it is in the musical, but in the movie, the Persian just doesn't fucking exist, right? They use one of the opera workers as like his guy in the chair, I guess you could say. But in the book, it's the Persian. This guy's fucking crazy. This guy is fucking crazy. And if you think about it really hard, none of it would have happened if the Persian would have just let Eric get killed at literally any point in time in the book. Anyways, moving on to all the fucking podcasts I listen to. I love podcasts. It's my favorite way of finding, I guess, intellectual things to study. It's my favorite way to get an introduction into a new topic. So because I listened to the Fan of the Opera, right, I went to the Classical Breakdown podcast and I listened to Opera 101, which kind of just gave me an in-depth, kind of like a way to analyze opera, kind of explained what opera really is, where it came from, different types of opera, different eras of opera throughout history, and then the actual terms used in opera. Look, I listened to that podcast to try and get an intro into opera, and then I went and listened to opera and I still couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. But worry not if you're also trying to get into opera, because, you know, not having TikTok turns you into a Victorian child. You can go on YouTube and find operas with subtitles. You get like just a little summary book and then watch it with subtitles like on your laptop. It'll work. Like, I've done that one time. If it was a lot easier than just listening and trying to figure out as I go, because I'm not gonna figure it out. I'm literally not gonna figure it out. Okay. So opera is an art form, right? So going more deeply into art, I found this podcast called Baroque Bitches, which is an art history podcast, and I love looking at art and finding out what time period it's from, who made it, who was that guy, like Caravaggio. And I also listened to their one on Francis Bacon and Lucian Freud, which those two are not separate. That's one podcast with Francis Bacon and Lucian Freud. And then the other one with Caravaggio was just by itself. I also listened to one not too long ago on Botticelli, which was probably my favorite. They also have ones for, I guess, more well-known artists, so Da Vinci, Michelangelo, people like them. That one was my absolute favorite. I fucking love Botticelli's work. To segue, so one of the reasons I got so into art history and into Botticelli is because I watched Hannibal, the show, okay? It is 2005, and I am still obsessed with two cannibalistic murder husbands. So here's the fan fiction I read this week. So my friend, who I introduced to the show Hannibal, has been obsessed with this fan fiction called Paragon for a very long time, and she's been trying to get me to read it, but for the longest time I would not read any fan fiction about Hannibal because I felt like it was gonna ruin the picture, the like how good it was, which is never the case. Like, if you love something, read fan fiction about it, consume it even more, okay? But like at that point in time, I had never read any fan fiction about Hannibal. I just kept rewatching the show over and over and over and trying to see what more I can find, what tiny little facial expressions I didn't see before. Until like this year, where she convinced me to read Paragon. Now I'm not finished. I'm on chapter like 49, 50 maybe. It's never enough. Never enough. Okay. So I read I Change Shapes as well, which is a fan fiction by someone, obviously. Crazy work. Basically, the premise of I Change Shapes is Will kind of just finds Hannibal outside his house in like a very animalistic form. I've been obsessed with medieval stuff recently. So I've been listening to the Gone Medieval podcast. I started off with sex in the Middle Ages just because I thought it would be the most interesting, and then I got into battlefield archaeology, and then I listened to one about understanding medieval women through crime, because, you know, anything a woman writes or does is going to get ripped up and buried. I guess track records we have of everyday women that weren't royals, nobles, or elitists, or even like nuns, are through the law proceedings, at least in medieval Europe, because that's where that podcast was based out of. Really interesting, really fucking cool. I suggest it. I also listened to one medieval romance one. Amazing, loved it, so fucking badass. There were a lot of badass women in that. And then there was a special episode that I listened to on the Gone Medieval podcast about Hattori Hanzo, and I learned that wasn't actually a name, that was like a title. Really fucking cool. Learned a lot of shit I didn't know, like a lot. I also listened to What Made You Ugly in Medieval Times on the Betwixt the Sheets podcast. Bald men, it's your time to shine. Bald man with love handles, yes. Dad bods, yes. And then What Also Made You Ugly in Rome, which, twinks, yes, twinks. Ow. And then I listened to a podcast called Not Just the Tudors. I listened specifically to the Ireland witchcraft trials one, that talks about like the only guy to be persecuted as a witch, in Ireland at least. I don't know about the rest of the world at that point in time. And then wrapping the rest up pretty quickly, I'm going to talk about my favorite podcast out there called Ologies. I listened to Sexology with Shan Booty. Funny as fuck. Awesome. And I also listened to Saligenealogy, which is basically like why people need hobbies, and need to do something outside of work, like consume random media and get the fuck off TikTok. I love podcasts. I consume them. I eat them up. And then my best friend, the one who I also introduced to Hannibal, who's making me read Paragon, introduced me to Baldur's Gate 3 as well. We played together. We played a co-op game, and then I literally took off work to download this game and play it. And I also have my own solo game, which I'm romancing the vampire guy, and then in my co-op game with her, I'm romancing Gale, the wizard. I just got this game and I already have like 25 hours on it. People are gonna come up to me, like my family members are gonna come up to me and be like, Madison, you're working too hard. Like there's bags under your eyes. You need to go to bed. I'm gonna be like, no, I must play Baldur's Gate. I'm obsessed right now. I love D&D. I love watching Dimension 20. I liked playing D&D, but I could never find anybody I wanted to play in person with that I thought was, one, a good person, and two, like finding a good place to do it and a good time to do it without it being creepy and weird. But now I can just play it on a game with my best friend. Like, you're joking. You're joking. So that's all the media I consumed this week. I went over fan fiction, video games, literature, musicals, movies, lots of podcasts. My attention span, I wouldn't say has like gone up very much, because a lot of the things that I do, I have to listen to. Even though I'm like going deaf, I have to listen to it in order to keep my attention span. Like anything visually doesn't keep my attention span for very, very long, other than books, because I can imagine it as a movie, if that makes sense. Like I used to love documentaries before I guess I got too addicted to short form content. And now I just can't watch them the same. And I'm going to fix my brain of the brain rot. No more ballerina cappuccina or whatever the fuck. No more no more Lux Maxi. Nothing. Because everything I loved doing, everything that makes me want to live, I wasn't enjoying anymore. I couldn't stay around long enough to enjoy. I suggest everyone else to delete TikTok, because even though it didn't fix my brain, it helped me start to enjoy life again, like honestly. And honestly start escaping the algorithm and do what 5th grade you loved doing. Okay, whatever you did as a child in elementary and middle school, go do it again. Okay. This is the Intellectual Predator signing the fuck out.